Hello! In this video I wanna show how I prepare pages for drawing when I do comics. So it all starts with a storyboard, and I will send a storyboard template file in the description. And when I finish the storyboard, it's time to create a new comic. Here I have a little shortcut, but you can also go into File, New, and I choose this comic with advanced settings. I will name it Regret. I will choose the unit as pixels, the width and height that of an A4, resolution is 300, the color is gray so my eyes don't burn, and the template I'm gonna link in the description so you can use it yourself. Then the story name is Regret over here, and this is a thing that you won't be able to do if you're on a pro subscription. You won't be able to create 13 pages at once. You will only be able to do it one by one, which is not very time consuming, but yeah. Or else record the time lapse where I prioritize file size. Okay, let's create it. After your pages are ready, or if you're on a pro after your page is ready, you can open one. And I'm gonna open the comic too. I'm gonna press M to select the rectangle selection. I'm gonna select the comic page, and I will press Ctrl V to paste it, or Ctrl Shift V to paste it in the middle, whatever you enjoy more. And then I will try to put it at the same I will put it to the borders, to those lilac borders. Okay, now that the storyboard is placed, I can start separating this one single border into borders of every frame. So above the ruler there exists a frame border tool. When you open it for the first time, it will be a creation tool, but you need the separation tool. So when you choose it, you can also choose it by pressing U twice. It's very important that your dividing method is the last one here. Divide not folder but frame border. Also, my vertical gutter is 80 pixels and horizontal gutter is 80 pixels as well. One thing is that here I have a layer called frame guide, and I will use the frame guide wherever I need to create even frames, or frames that are cut in the middle, or 3 frames that are the same size. So for example, I'll make storyboard less saturated. For example, here I will not cut it by the border of the frame, I will cut it instead by the guide. To make it so your cut is straight, you gotta hold shift. So when you hold shift, it snaps. So I'm gonna hold shift every time, and I'm gonna cut it. Here I eyeball it, and then here I use the guide because it's perfect 3 frames of the same size. After I selected everything, I don't need the frame guide anymore. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hide the junk folder, and then I'm gonna drag the frame guide into the junk folder so it disappears, or you can delete it. After I am done with it, I can start drawing the frame. So I have 2 brushes to draw the frames with. Let me choose black. And as you can see, each of them is wobbly. This is because I enjoy when the frames look in such a way that they are drawn by hand, but I don't really want to spend 10 to 15 minutes drawing stuff like this by hand, so I created those brushes. You can download them in the link in the description as well. So after the frame is done, I'm gonna hold shift and click onto the ruler icon to disable the ruler. After this, I'm gonna explain why I'm doing my next step. So I'm gonna create a layer that you don't have to create. I'm creating it just for the demonstration. So if I put the layer inside this folder that we created by separating the frames, and if I choose a huge brush and try to just cover the whole canvas, you can see how it actually doesn't go outside the lines. That's because when we separated the frames, we made it so this layer acquired a musk that makes it impossible to go outside. But the problem is that this musk is straight, while our lines are wobbly, and in the end it looks very untidy if I'm drawing a background and it keeps having those white lines. So to combat that, here's what I do. I will delete this layer for demonstration. I also will go and hide that into the junk. We will not need it anymore. So what I do is I go to the temporary layer and I look at the frame layer below that. You can see that it has this lighthouse icon, and it means that it has set as a reference layer turned on. So I go to the temporary, I press either M or L to call the menu with different selections, and I choose this selection tool that I will also link in the description. After you download it, you can get it by clicking here, say add subtool, and it will be right here. So what you need to do before using it, you need to set refer multiple and reference layer. If you had anything else selected, for example all layers, it will not work. So I will go and I will select everything outside the frames. It is okay to go outside the canvas itself, but it's important to start and end on the canvas but outside all the frames. You can see that it all got covered by a color. So what you do now is you press Ctrl and click on the icon of the temporary layer, not the name but just the icon. After this, what I do is I press here at the bottom to shrink selected area, and I shrink it by 2 or sometimes 4 pixels. So I press OK, and after I do this, I click on the art folder and I press right here to create a layer mask. After this, I delete the temporary folder. So what we did right now is we made the same selection as before, except now there is nothing going outside the wobbly lines. If I do the background, it will always be inside the frames. So after the frames are done, I'm gonna start working on text. I will press T to call text. I have size on 10 usually. Also, if I press here on this little wrench and I go to edit settings, it's very important that you have add to selected text instead of create a layer or detect position. So I go to the text layer in the English folder, and I don't select usually, I usually just click in place. This comic doesn't have bubbles, so let me create some. So after I did it, I go to the bubble line layer and I draw a bubble with my preferred brush. I do it by hand instead of using a ruler. I don't know, I just didn't find the perfect way to do it with ruler yet. And it's not long for me to make them by hand. Sometimes when they look too lopsided, I press G for the liquify. If it doesn't work on G, then it happens to be here under the bucket. So in the liquify, I choose the push method, and I just push it a little to make it a little more rounder. That's how I usually do it. After I'm done with the text bubbles, let me move it like this. If you want to move text, you just press T and then you just drag anything it will detect. So after I'm done, I go to the bubble line and I press the lighthouse to set it as the reference layer. Then I go to the bubble color and I choose the same fill, select and fill tool, and I give it a background, just like this. I also have the handwritten layer. The handwritten layer by default has the border, so if I write here, it will have the border. The border color is really easy to change. You can just go to color wheel, choose any color, and then press the bucket here, and it will choose to whatever color. So now that our borders look great, now that we have the text and SFX or handwritten text, I usually switch to a line art, and I hope to tell about it in the next video. I hope this video was useful, and thank you for being here, and have a great day. Bye bye.